Getting the best weapons in Destiny 2 is one of the best and most enjoyable parts, especially when you get that perfect god roll you've been farming for hours. With weapon crafting being in the game, it's very easy to pick and choose all of your perks and make the perfect god roll that suits your needs. However, still to this day, some of the best weapons are still out there that you can't even craft, meaning it's going to take you hours upon hours or even days to get the god roll, depending on how lucky you get. These non-craftable weapons are some of the rarest and best weapons in the game that people use in endgame, and obviously some of the best players are using. So in today's video, I want to cover the rarest meta weapons that a solo player can have in Destiny 2. If you're a solo player and you have these, congratulations, and if you don't have them, get out there and start farming. The first weapon on this list is the Cold Comfort rocket launcher, which is obtainable through the Ghost of the Deep dungeon, which came out in Season 21. The Cold Comfort and a few other weapons on this list come from the endgame loot in Destiny 2, which in turn is hard for solo players to complete, and that's why some of these weapons are the rarest weapons that a solo player can have. Just completing endgame content by yourself is already a challenge. However, being able to farm this endgame content for the perfect god roll makes this weapon even harder for solo players to get. The god roll on the Cold Comfort is Envious Assassin and Bait and Switch. By using Envious Assassin and its origin trait, you can shoot off 4 rockets without even having to reload. If you throw in some other Destiny 2 tech, like using Heat Rises and Icarus Dash, or Radiant Dance Machines and dodging as a hunter, you can shoot off upwards of 6 rockets without even having to reload in a span of about 6 seconds. If you pair Bait and Switch into this as well, every single rocket that you shoot is going to do 35% more damage, which makes this weapon one of the highest burst DPS damage weapons in the game. I've been trying to get this rocket launcher since the Ghost of the Deep was released. I've done this dungeon many times. I've even tried farming bosses, but unfortunately I have not been lucky enough to get this perfect god roll that I want. So if you're ever doing the dungeon, make sure to look out for the Cold Comfort, or if this has inspired you to go and farm it, maybe consider it because it is still one of the best rocket launchers in the game. Next on the list, we have a brand new fusion rifle that has come just this season, and it is the Nox Perennial 5. Now, I've made a whole video dedicated on just this gun, and I've mentioned it multiple times on my channel. This is a perfect hidden gem. As a solo player, if you have this gun in the god roll, you are a key component to raid groups. This is a high impact fusion rifle which goes in the kinetic slot. Because this one goes in your kinetic slot, this frees up your energy slot to use some of the best primary weapons in the game, like all of the SMGs or the Doom of Chelchis or some of the best hand cannons. Now, the Nox Perennial can roll with a god roll of Envious Assassin and Controlled Burst. So Envious Assassin will overflow the magazine up to double, and Controlled Burst, once procced, will increase your damage output by 20% and also reduce charge time by 10%. The best way to use this gun to full advantage is put a tractor cannon on in the heavy slot and then put the Nox in the kinetic slot, and you'll be doing some serious damage to the boss, and you'll also be a great teammate helper by debuffing the boss with the tractor cannon. Unfortunately, there's no way to specifically farm this weapon, it's just a world drop. So if you ever get one to drop while playing Destiny, check it out, and if it's a god roll, keep it. If not, oh well. Next on the list is the Ignition Code Grenade Launcher. I actually mentioned this one in my previous video, which I mentioned some of the must-have weapons for a solo player. So if you haven't checked that one out, it's going to be in the link in the description down below. Now, the Ignition Code is so good because it can roll with Slide Shot and disorientating grenades. This is the only energy weapon in the game that can roll with Slide Shot and disorientating grenades, meaning you can infinitely slide around and shoot off blinding grenades and infinitely blind everything around you. This is a must-have for all endgame content in Destiny 2. Anytime I'm struggling in that endgame content, I always pull this weapon out, and it is always a must-have pick for all of my contest day 1 raids. Blinding grenades can roll on a lot of grenade launchers, and it's a must-have, so if you have it on one, congratulations, and just keep that. However, I chose the Ignition Code because it is extremely rare to get, and that's the thumbnail and title of this video. So let's get into the odds of what your chances are of actually getting an Ignition Code to drop. So to start things off, there is 4 different tables of loot for Dares of Eternity, and this table changes every single week. So you can actually only grind for the Ignition Code every 4th week. So once you finally hit that 4th week and you're ready to grind it out for a week, there is 21 items in that loot pool for that week, meaning you have a 1 in 21 chance of actually getting the ignition code to drop. So then, say you got really lucky and you did get the ignition code to drop, you have a 1 in 6 chance of getting slide shot to drop in the first column, and then you also have a 1 in 6 chance of getting disorientating grenades to drop in the second column. So it's safe to say this weapon is pretty rare. I was pretty lucky enough to actually get one. I don't even remember getting it, but it's safe to say I'm never deleting it. Coming in next, we have the best gun in the game, and it is a raid exotic, the Conditional Finality. This gun speaks for itself, there's not much to talk about it, everyone knows how this gun works. It is amazing in PvE and PvP, it is my most used weapon, and a lot of players absolutely love this gun, and it's for a good reason. Now, like I said earlier in the video, endgame content is pretty hard for solo players to complete, and the Conditional Finality is one of the best guns in the game, so when you put those two together, if you're a solo player and you can farm this and get it, congratulations, this is an amazing weapon, and I definitely recommend that you guys try and do 3 Root of Nightmares every single week to try and get the Conditional Finality. Next on the list, we have another weapon from the Ghost of the Deep Dungeon, which is the No Survivors Submachine Gun. This is a 720 round per minute SMG that can roll with Incandescent and Demolitionist. This is a very strong and effective SMG, and it's a pretty good backup if you don't have a Callus mini tool yet. For me as a Warlock main, pairing Incandescent on a lot of my weapons ties in very well when I use all of my subclass abilities with Dawnblade and Well of Radiance. Demolitionist on a SMG is completely slept on, and it gives the ability to send out lots of grenades. The No Survivors is just like the Cold Comfort, it pretty much drops from every encounter in the Ghost of the Deep Dungeon, so if you haven't got one yet, get out there and try and farm it. Coming in next, we have the Fatebringer in the Adept version from the Vault of Glass raid. With hand cannons receiving a massive buff this season, everyone is using them again, and it's put them at the top of the best guns list. The Fatebringer has always been an amazing hand cannon to use, and now with its massive damage boost, it is especially a great gun to use and have in your loadout. Now I did say Adept before, but I actually mean Time Lost. If you didn't know, in Vault of Glass, when you get the Adept version, it's actually called Time Lost, but it basically does the same thing. Now I'm recommending the Time Lost version because obviously it gets a massive stat boost, but it also comes with the perfect god roll with Firefly and explosive payload. Now unfortunately you're going to have to wait until the Vault of Glass is available in Master difficulty, and then you're also going to have to do the challenge. So as a solo player, this can be quite challenging, so my best recommendation to you is to practice doing Vault of Glass while it's not Master Challenge, and then when it comes time to do it, try and get a group together through the LFG Discord and grind away. And the final weapon on this list is the Forbearance, which drops from the Vow of the Disciple raid. Luckily, this weapon is actually craftable, so as long as you do the Vow of the Disciple once per week, you can actually specifically purchase a red border Forbearance, which means you can craft it within 5 weeks. The Forbearance is the best ad clearing weapon in the game. I've said it 100 times, it is the best special weapon in the game, my favorite grenade launcher, and the best at clearing ads in any activity. This weapon rolls with Ambitious Assassin, meaning you're going to overflow the magazine every time you kill enemies. It has chain reaction, so that every enemy you kill is going to explode in a massive arc jolt, and then on top of that, every enemy you kill, you're also going to get a little health back through its origin trait. But anyway, Guardians, that will wrap the list up there. If you're a solo player and you have some of these weapons, congratulations, these are some of the best weapons in the game, and as a solo player, it's pretty hard to get these. However, if you don't have some of these weapons and you're a solo player, I definitely recommend you put some of your energy into trying to get these guns, because they are simply some of the best guns in the game, and as a solo player, having the best weapons is very vital. But anyway, Guardians, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to drop a like and a subscribe down below. I'm trying to hit 10k subs before the end of the year, but again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.